live on Periscope and Trovo. What's up, guys? I am James Hake. This is the Hake Report, live on Facebook and DLive and YouTube as well. Twitch coming up shortly. Let me retweet my tweet. Periscope meaning Twitter, right? Whatever. It's 9:01 a.m. U.S. Pacific Daylight Time, Tuesday, May 11th, the year of our Lord, Anno Domini 2021. Somebody sent me a comment. Somebody left a comment regarding that Anno Domini thing, correcting the record, at least to his understanding, or her. Right on. I'll have to check that out. Appreciate it. I have a hand-picked song for you guys. I still have to pull up my Trovo and live chat. What's up, everybody? I cannot see your live chat yet, but I'm pulling it up now. I have a hand-picked song for you. Another song by that husband-wife duo plus band, I guess. Over the Rhine. Over the Rhine. R-H-I-N-E. Like the Rhine River in where is that? Europe. This one is called Nobody Number One, and somebody said, I think it was Raymond11, said that it sounds so 90s, and indeed, it's from 2003, but the beat will indeed sound 90s. I think these guys are Gen Xers. They can't help it. But enjoy Nobody Number One by Over the Rhine, and I'll be talking over it and chatting with you. It's not too long, 4 minutes or so. And I will check my emails, Stephen Absolution. Appreciate the heads up on that. I will check my emails. Here, yeah, Germany. The Rhine River goes through Germany and maybe it's elsewhere. Let's go ahead and go off screen. Show the beautiful scenery, the Hake Report scenery. Here's Over the Rhine. Nobody Number One. I think you'll like it. I do. See, and you can tell that this beat, that is so 90s. Is it not? 90s like alternative music. And I will be reading your super chats, guys. Can you hear it? He's going to play Metallica. Loud enough, guys? 1 if it's great. 2 if it's too loud. 3 if it's too quiet. 4 if you want it muted because you hate it. Thank you, Take Care, Business Bear. And though we love to numb the pain, we come to learn that it's in vain. Pain is our mother, she makes us recognize each other. Malkuth X says garage band drum loop. Don't cry. Child, don't cry. I will be reading I will be getting to your calls. 90s heroin music. Says only 2 sexes. Great name. Donna says 4. She wants it muted. Hake is improving weekly. Thanks, man. Brawl Pam. Mediocre, says Colin Barrett. That's fine. I accept that. It's pleasant. Shout out to Asmodor hosting the Hake Report on Trovo.live. Trovo.live/the Hake Report. 888-775-3773. I'm going to be talking about the anti-Asian hate crimes supposedly happening. Hate. It's not even hate crimes. They're so-called hate incidents. Mostly it's done by people who hate the people. Emo James in the house, says Colin Parrott. Man. Hake, did you see my question? I will be getting to your stuff. You can be given super chats via Streamlabs, streamlabs.com/the Hake Report. I have other things to cover as well, including a passage from the Bible. And stuff from Hake News about the shutdowns being truly counterproductive. An economics professor detailed it, reminiscent of what you may have read about if you read Revolver News, revolver.news. So it's crazy stuff. I have a little bit more, too, about the Israel-Palestine conflict. Walmart music, says Red Pill XX. Rhinos are trying to oust the rhinos. Kevin McCarthy versus Liz Cheney, both of them rhinos. I may touch more on this Disney that hates America. I have some details on, well, I guess this Asian hate crime stuff kind of is reminiscent of it, in my opinion. There is still ongoing drama over the mostly peaceful Capitol protests. You know the thing that they call the insurrection? Sounds like TV show music, says Subian Knot. I like her voice. Karen Bergquist. And her husband, Linford Detweiler. He does good piano, I think. Maybe guitar. People want to comment on stuff going on. Somebody wants me to do Hake plays. Anyway, guys, this is the Hake Report, and let's get right on. It's 9:07 a.m. here in Los Angeles with the show.
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
Hey, guys!
Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report. The Hake Report. La la la.
So, how are you all doing? I am fine. De White says, this music is a hate crime. Wow. Brutal. But I get what you're saying. I think I understand. Hake, what background is this? Sorry I'm late. This background over there, if you're looking on the, if you were looking at the background, you're talking about my splash screen. One was the beach, Santa Monica Pier. That's the still image. And there is a video that's just barely moving from Peck Lake, Peck Park Reservoir, which is over in, I guess, El Monte, Arcadia, unincorporated LA County, California, where I used to go jogging, running for cross-country stuff. Right next to my old high school, Arroyo High School in El Monte. Shout out. So, I have some ridiculous pocket headlines, and the first one that I want to start with is, before I get to calls, is this anti-Asian hate crime. Capital of North America being Canada and United States and Mexico, I guess. Is Mexico part of North America? I think it is. Is Vancouver. Vancouver, Canada. So says Bloomberg. And I'm looking at this Bloomberg article, and you can see this is a Pocket headline. I make fun of Pocket all the time. They're liberals. And they aggregate interesting commentary that is from a very liberal, anti-white, anti-American perspective, put up by Firefox. Firefox props them up. This is the anti-Asian hate crime capital of North America. And that is Vancouver, supposedly. It's by some woman named Natalie Obiko Pearson. Sounds maybe like a black, I'm not sure. Said to be the most Asian city outside of Asia, actually, according to this Bloomberg Equality article. I didn't know that Bloomberg had an equality article. Section. Bloomberg Equality. But Bloomberg is started by Mike Bloomberg, who is a liberal and not a white Christian. I'll tell you that much. Not a Christian at all. In fact, he's an anti-Christian, an anti-American. But if he wants to buy ads, then we'll sell him. And he'll still lose. A quarter of the residents in Vancouver speak a Chinese language, because there's at least two, right? And there's a Tibetan monastery, a Chinese evangelical church, a Sikh Gurdwara, whatever that is, and they exist all in harmony in a 3-kilometer stretch of a road dubbed the Highway to Heaven. Kind of place that should be immune to a rise in pandemic-fueled racism, which honestly, that's just speculation. It really just is. It's all it is, just speculation. Because it reminds me of after the terror attack on 9/11, 2001, when the planes flew into the buildings. Everybody agrees that the planes flew into the buildings? Some think that the Pentagon one was a missile. Maybe. I don't know. But Vancouver has been anything but. After that terror attack, all the liberals, female-minded people, were like, oh, meaning like feel sorry for the perpetrators, but not the victims. They started saying, oh, don't get Islamophobic. Excuse me. That's the first time I cough because I can't do their voice very well. Don't get Islamophobic now. Don't get all starting to profile. They feel sorry for the perpetrator group who are more concerned about Islamophobia, so-called, which doesn't exist. Just like blacks more concerned about racism than the crime that they're committing that leads to the stereotype, right? The crime and bad attitude that blacks have leads to the stereotype of blacks having a lot of crime and bad attitudes. Am I right or am I right? You only have two choices. I'm right. Same thing with the Muslims. They come in and pretend to be peaceful, pretend to be your friend, lie to you, and say, oh, we love America. We love Jesus. We respect Jesus more than the Jews do. And then they go crazy, cry Islamophobia on you when there's a disagreement. And then they raise children that if they come here, they're all respectful and quiet and thankful, and then their children become psychos sometimes. More frequently, it's the second generation that came to America that goes psycho. And we trained those people, by the way, who flew the planes allegedly into the building. I say allegedly because they weren't convicted in a court of law, because they were already dead, right? We trained those pilots here in America. Thanks, globalism. And people have the same sense about this globalism leading to this so-called worldwide pandemic. If we didn't have all of the globalism, we wouldn't have had it spread like it does. And if we didn't have all of the anti-racism feelings, oh, don't be racist now, or don't be xenophobic, we wouldn't have had it go out of control. Anyway, so it's interesting. I have some very interesting information. Most of the people supposedly reporting these crimes are busybodies. Many of them are white. I have a folder full of these things. Stop AAPI hate mess. And that's a mess that they're pushing, right? There is this, most of the so-called hate incidents and forms of discrimination, by far, like 70%, according to multiple studies and lengths of studies and places. Here's the Stop AAPI Hate National Report, and it's written like communists, socialists, graffiti style, by PhDs, more busybodies, academics. Academics are blind, brainwashed, educated fools, as the great Justice Thomas's great man of a grandfather called him one time when he was a black radical. Did you know that Justice Clarence Thomas was a black radical at one time? I learned that from a documentary about him in his own words. He was a black radical got all educated, and his grandpa called him an educated fool. Most of these types of discrimination, though, are verbal harassment / name calling, which has nothing to do with racism. When you have a disagreement with somebody or you hate somebody, you call them what the most obvious thing about them is. If they're fat, you call them fatso. Or fat something else. If they are a woman, you call them such and such word for a woman, bad woman. Or such and such other word for bad woman, which they call themselves too. And they call, oh, that's racist, that's sexist. Verbal harassment, nearly 70% of the incidents. And there's only like a few thousand of these incidences, which is tiny. Well, because they're not that big of a population, but they're pretty big in Vancouver, right? Shunning is the second most frequent. Avoidance / shunning, which is just them profiling the other person because the other person is of another race. Did you know that? When they talk about shunning, they don't have any idea that it's because of their race. They're just assuming. I had a friend who claimed, an Asian friend, right? Educated in UCLA. He told me, I've experienced racism. I'm like, so I challenged him, where did you experience racism? So he said, I went to a restaurant and they seated me off in the corner. They hid me away in the corner. And I just rolled my eyes. He has no idea what the reason was for pushing him into the corner. But he assumes physical assault is another one. Physical assault, they have no idea the motive, but they assume that it was that. And most of those physical assaults, have we seen one physical assault that was by a white? Coughed or spat on, which is also a form of physical assault. If you cough on somebody or spit on them, that is assault, actually. Did you know that? But those are 8 and 6.5%, or 7%. Number 3, other, yeah. Number 3 is other, which is 10%. The number 3 form of harassment, discrimination, whatever, or hate incident is other. Okay. Exactly. So 70% verbal harassment, 23% shunning, 10% other. In a larger study, it's 8.6%. Same thing. Their physical assault, they're claiming, is 11.1% in a different graph. So they try to amplify the physical assault. But they have no idea. Those are called, and they're pretending that it's targeted hate incidents. Ethnicity of respondents is one thing that I looked at. If you go through and look through all these, just kind of slideshow through and I'll stop you. It is ridiculous. Chris over here is helping me out big time, showing you this stuff. The ethnicity of the respondents, though, 42% are Chinese. Most of the Chinese who come here, many of them, are going to school, so they're getting educated / brainwashed against whites, by the way, just a FYI. More now than ever, really. In my generation, it might not have been as bad, but it was pretty bad. Especially if you went to like UCLA or some other like higher education school. I mean, Ivy League type. Koreans, 14, 15%. Asian, blah, blah, blah. Asian. Vietnamese, Filipino, Japanese. White! 6% of the respondents, of the people reporting these things, are white. So that is mostly going to be some woman, educated woman. And then if you look at the genders of these people, gender of respondents, they are, I didn't really label these very well for Chris, but the gender of the respondents, 68% of them are females. 68% females, 29% of males, because males have a little bit of dignity. 2% are trans and gender and non-binary. And 1% prefer not to specify. Wow, 29% are males, 68% females reporting so-called hate incidents. The ages, by and large, the age 26 to 35, 18 to 25, and 36 to 45. Actually, 26 to 35 is the biggest. That's those dumb millennials. And 36 to 45 millennials and Gen X. And then 18 to 25, the younger ones. The Zoomers, 12 to 17 too. Ridiculous. Busybodies. The younger people don't even know what they don't even know what it was like in the good old days when people dealt with one another like more directly, like men, or like frank women, ladies. California is a big one in terms of the states that are reporting it because they come here, they're taking over. They've taken over Arcadia and Alhambra and much of San Gabriel, Monterey Park. Monterey Park has a lot of Hispanics. But I'm just talking about places around here. Koreatown did not used to be Koreatown before 1965. I'll tell you that much. That's when the immigration bill came in. But silly, huh? Silly stuff. And there are the people there's this assumption that COVID-19 was the trigger. And some report talks about how Donald Trump was not mentioned in some report, right? The report does not mention former President Donald J. Trump. This is according to Tampa Bay Times, which is using a PolitiFact study, right? About the Center for the Study on Hate and Extremism. The Center for the Study on Hate and Extremism. And the director of the center is a guy named Brian Levin. Brian Levin. He says presidential statements have correlated both to increases and decreases in hate crime, he claims. And they wrote one of these reports. It's notable that on March 23rd, 2020, when President Trump refrained from ethnic terms related to the virus for a day and spoke of tolerance, there were no anti-Asian hate crimes in New York City in what otherwise was a historically bad month for hate crime. So this guy is drawing spurious conclusions and pretending that Trump is responsible. A guy who doesn't sound like he's a Christian. No Christian, not a real one, would be part of the Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism, by the way. Those guys smear Christians as hateful. No doubt. If they're anything like the SPLC or the ADL, am I right? Am I right, Levin? Anyway, silly stuff going on. So I mainly just wanted to show you that stuff, that it's just the Bible warns against busybodies. Don't, especially the women, don't get all busybody. Don't be a busybody. That's the people who meddle in other people's mess and concern themselves, worry their pretty little heads when they should not be worried. Just FYI. I have some other pocket headlines that I want to show to you. It's just some funny stuff. And one of them is this African American Black Cowboys article by Smithsonian Magazine. Smithsonian used to be this classy, I hit the mic, classy, historical, stuff like that. But now it's doing this kissing up type of education. And it has a picture of what they call African American cowboys. I doubt the cowboys, those black cowboys, called themselves so-called African Americans. They probably called themselves Negroes or black or something. But they're just adopting a fake news term, a fake history term. 1 in 4 cowboys was black. So why aren't they more present in popular culture, they ask. 1 in 4, wow. Who knew? And they have another one. The California's first Surgeon General. California did not have a Surgeon General, and now they have their first one, created by the beta governor with the beta baby, Gavin Newsom. Gavin Nuisance, as some of you called him. Dr. Nadine Burke Harris. Nadine Burke Harris. Oh, that's not California's. Is it California's? Oh, she's Canadian, so-called hyphenated American. Pediatrician. Surgeon General of California since 2019. First person appointed to that position. She's a black woman, 46 years old. Born in Vancouver. Married to a white-ish guy. And it's funny because heartbreak on top of heartbreak is the quote, referring to something I presume that she said, maybe about the virus mess, right? Because she's the first Surgeon General ever, handling the so-called virus. Remember when that guy, that black Surgeon General under President Trump, he's a nice guy, but he's like a mama's boy. Tell your big mama, tell your pop. Or do it for your big mama, do it for your pop. I think that was at the beginning of this scamdemic, right? He was talking about do your social distancing or wear a mask or something like that. That feel good, feel sorry for people, kiss up to moms and hang around your mother and grandmother and grandfathers during the scamdemic. This woman is talking about heartbreak on top of heartbreak. It's bad enough with the male talking about big mama and pop. Oh, he also said, do it for your abuela, which is Spanish for grandma, because he has Spanish people in his family. Black Surgeon General under Trump. Goofy young man. But this woman is talking about heartbreak on top of heartbreak. And I noticed that all these health officials are emotional, cowards, simps, kiss-ups. Fauci kisses up to Hillary Clinton. Oh, you were so wonderful when you said, what difference does it make? Oh, you were so, I'm a big fan of your show, Rachel Maddow, lesbian lady of MSDNC. It's ridiculous. Be quiet, Louis. Stop drinking. Anyway, I will get to your calls, guys. But I just noticed, and you know what else? Who's that woman of the CDC? Rochelle Walensky. Not a Christian, I don't think. Definitely not a Christian, because Christians have no fear. She's all, I'm scared. You heard her on the Jesse Lee Peterson show, on the clip, right? I'm scared there's going to be another wave of this virus and it'll kill a bunch of people. Give me a break. These are not objective people. It is phoniness. It's phoniness. Real quick, 2 more headlines. The New Yorker is promoting, according to this pocket headline article, a black woman, the emergent moving for police and prison abolition. Mariame Kaba, a New York City-based activist and organizer, is at the center of an effort to build up another world. Led by a black woman. Bad news. And they use the term abolition, which is reminiscent of slavery, right? Slavery abolition. Because most people think, oh, that was a good thing. We abolished slavery and killed 600,000 Americans in the process, in the Civil War. Dang. And now people are smearing the South as losers. Talk about a lack of unity. We fought, or back in the day, they fought to unite America. That was the purpose of the war, to keep America united. Crazy, huh? And then after they settled, the surrender happened, they're trying to make peace. They wanted to preserve unity. But now the people are trying to push the South away and disown the South, call them traitors, and, the people who love the beautiful Confederate flag, of the rebel flag, of states' rights and independent thinking for the most part. They want to disown these people and endlessly smear the South. Sick. So they're pretending that this abolition is a good thing. Like, it's a good idea to abolish prison and police. Give me a break. Had to be a woman, and a black woman at that. And then, the last one, Smithsonian Magazine is promoting this woman who signed the Declaration of Independence. Did you know there was a woman who signed the Declaration of Independence? Mary Catherine Goddard. Why do I recognize that name? The United States' likely first woman employee. She was a newspaper publisher. Wow, always pushing propaganda. Key figure in promoting the ideas that brought the Declaration of Independence. Give me a break. Anyway, just a bunch of kiss-up stuff going on. I got lines full of calls. Let me get to... Oh, got one line open. Jason in Long Island, New York, wants to talk with me. Jason, how you doing?
Hey, James.
Hey.
How you doing, bro?
Doing fine. Good to hear from you.
Good. You know my question. What do you do Hake plays?
Why don't I do Hake plays?
Yeah.
I don't have a producer. I need a producer for that.
Oh, man.
Because I don't know how to do that stuff. I'm basically Gen X.
You're Gen X? I mean, look at Jesse. He's playing, he's a boomer.
What's that?
And look at Jesse. He's playing. He's a boomer.
I know, but he has a producer. He has Nick.
Oh, I see.
I don't have a producer.
You need talented people like Nick.
Yeah. But
What
Nick
about
is
Chris?
busy. Nick is fully occupied. And did you hear? I heard something about Nick that JLP is planning and scheming. How'd you like Nick on the Jesse Lee Peterson show, by the way?
Yeah, he's pretty good. He's
guest
getting
hosting.
better and better,
Yeah. He was good pretty much right the first day. That was cool. Brandon M says he'll be my producer. Nice, Brandon M. Appreciate it. Yeah, it has to be a... Hake is an elder millennial. Yeah, interesting, man. I mean, I appreciate the request. That's a nice idea. I don't know if I...
Did you ever play when you were, much younger?
I played some stuff, yeah. Like, we got a Nintendo when I was in 8th grade, or I think it was 8th grade or freshman in high school, which was late because all my other friends, my cousins, some of my other friends, they had Nintendo and Sega Genesis and all that, like when I was in kindergarten or before or after. Yeah, or before. And so they were playing that stuff, and they would play in arcades, and they were pretty good at arcade games. I would be given a few quarters by my friend's mother, and I would just save the quarters. I wouldn't play because I knew that I would lose right away in the arcades, so I didn't want to waste my quarters playing the arcade games.
You mean those fighting games that you got to play with? Yeah.
When you go into, outside of a movie theater, they have a room that's full of these standalone arcade game things. Or if you go to the donut shop, there's Mortal Kombat and stuff like that. Mortal Kombat, that was like 8th grade.
Yeah, that was pretty, gory, pretty bloody.
Yeah, I know.
They weren't Christian, so they wouldn't let you play that.
True. Yeah, I remember a mother being my friend's mom being all horrified at the fatalities that they would do. Fatalities. For children. Yeah, I played Atari at my grandmother's house, and then we moved the Atari up to out somewhere else. And we played. We moved the Nintendo to my grandmother's house, and then later, I think after high school, we finally got a PlayStation, which was like 5 years after PlayStation first came out. It's funny.
So, yeah.
And all the cousins, we would keep it at my grandmother's house. So on Sundays, we would go play the PlayStation a little bit, go outside and go swimming, and she would buy Little Caesars pizza or make us grilled cheese sandwiches. How white is that?
We'll make that happen. If you need a console, I'll donate you a PlayStation 2. I don't know. Pretty, friendly game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate the requests, the suggestions. Contra was fun. Especially up, down, down, left, right, BA, select, start. Is that the correct thing?
You even know that code.
Yeah, And that was like during high school when we started to play that thing. We got it because my brother was all into G.I. Joe, and there was a G.I. Joe game that came out. And so we bought the Nintendo. My brothers and I pitched in, got the Nintendo, and I played G.I. Joe. And then I started doing bad in high school Spanish. And then my dad yelled at me, and then I had to stay home from wrestling practice, and it was a big mess. So I had to stop playing so many video games. Played a little bit of like Duke Nukem maybe on the computer and different things like that. There were computer games. Space Quest, stuff like that. Anyway.
Yep, those were the times.
I know.
Good old days.
Yep.
Nowadays, everything is online, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get, I play games, and when I play online, I get a lot of hate comments. Real, like.
Yeah.
Because
it's kind of fun, though, right? Or no?
I mean, I don't respond to it. Sometimes I do, but
yeah,
I don't know. But
people have pent-up aggression, or they're just playing around. Or even they're playing around because they have the pent-up aggression. Because much of the time, they don't even mean it.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
They don't even mean it. Okay, that's it, Jay.
Appreciate it, Jason. Nice to hear from you, man.
All right.
All right, take care. Chad is in California. I didn't get to take his call yesterday. Chad, how are you doing?
Hey, what's up?
Not much.
So, yes, I was on Vosh's channel last week.
Nice.
Pretty cool.
Right on. That's cool. Are you on a speakerphone right now, Chad?
Not anymore.
Okay. Yeah, Vosh is a mess. That guy is a mess. I had him on my show. Shout out to my de facto producer, Dielawn. Got Vosh on my show. And he was also on The Fallen State. That was cool. I heard Dielawn was on Vosh's show last week, too.
yeah. That's. I guess I might as well dox myself now. That's who I'm talking about. But yeah,
nice.
I was on there, and I actually didn't talk much about politics or anything. I wanted to find some common ground, so we talked about men's rights, men's issues versus women's issues.
Okay.
And he's a lot more pro-male than you would expect.
Yeah. You know what? I can kind of believe that because he really sincerely seemed to like JLP when he appeared on The Fallen State. So that's cool. That's cool. I mean, he's a very knowledgeable guy. Also a communist piece of garbage, according to Banda Huat 33 and Soy Boy. But interesting. Right on. Right on for common ground.
Yeah,
Dielawn, Chad.
But I just wanted to talk about something a caller said on your show yesterday, too.
Yeah.
Caller said something that you probably know what I'm talking about. He said something, and I saw your face was pretty hilarious when you were like, The caller said, "We're all one race, the human race, and color doesn't matter." And I just want to point out that is horrendously not true. To say that color doesn't matter is like saying that a car is only the type of car it is because of what color it is. Like that Toyota Corolla, that's not a Toyota Corolla. It's just gray. That's all it is. It's just dark. It just happens to be dark gray. That's all it is.
Yeah.
You know, I like car analogies. But yeah, it's that ideology is not only naive, it's destructive, it's harmful because it's led to people saying, well, I guess if there's no such thing as race and no differences between groups of people, why not open up the borders?
Right.
And that's led to women getting raped and attacked, and guys too by Muslims in Europe, and all the problems with. So this ideology needs to be pushed back against, in my opinion. Every time you hear it, it's not only naive, it's downright destroying the world. What do you think?
I think that there's some truth to that. I don't think that the caller necessarily meant it in that way, and so that's why I partly let it slide. I mean, he's trying for us to be like united and judge each other based on the individual, what do you call it, character rather than race. But you are right that people have totally different mindsets. The proof is when you look at how Well, there's many ways to prove it, but look at how whites vote, white Christians especially vote versus the whole rest of the people, and especially men, how men vote versus the rest of the people.
Yeah,
They're more
and
sensible,
they're
conservatives, based in reality.
And the thing is, there's a genetic component to that. Race is not about color. Race is about thousands and thousands of years of evolution, biology, and genetics.
And even if you don't even believe in evolution, you don't even have to believe in evolution to agree with this, because you just look at how people act in the cultures that they have and the ways that the temptation, the satanic temptation to identify with this person or that person because they look like you or whatever, which is a big temptation rather than what is right. If people were identifying with what's right and be focused on what's right, they would not be anti-white. They simply would not.
Well, I think the problem with saying you don't even have to worry about the scientific aspect of it and just look at their behavior is because then people can write that behavior off to third-party external factors. They can say, well, then we just have to change the environment. We just have to change the culture. We just have to change the education. You know?
Right. But that's not manly thinking at all, because manly thinking deals with, or logical thinking, another word for it, deals with reality. The reality is these people come in here and they bring in the cultures that they came from. And their children, even though they're raised in our culture, they're raised in the worst parts of our culture that brainwashes them to be anti-white. And they're also raised to identify with the degenerate culture that they came from more than their parents. So that's,
but then people,
but the point is,
if you look at it,
part of my dispute about it is that this evolution stuff is not necessarily settled science. It's disputed. So you're going to endlessly get into intellectual arguments with different people. Intellectuals don't accept reality, and they don't accept facts. You notice that?
Yeah, I guess you're saying it could lead into the evolution versus creationism debate. Yeah.
Yeah, and then also even most of the people who believe in evolution, they twist over backwards to explain away the differences in the races and how they behave and the cultures that came out of them and stuff like that. The evolution believers, most of them don't even agree with you or with common sense.
Okay, well, maybe we just leave out the evolution. It's about thousands and thousands of years of, you could say, biology and genetics.
6,000 or 8,000 if you're a young earther. we have to be inclusive of all the young Earth, flat Earth, creationists, never been to the moon people.
But I mean, I would just tell that caller and to anybody who believes that race is about color, like look at the Australian Aborigines versus the Scandinavians. I mean, can you really picture the Australian Aborigines? Let's say even versus white Americans. Can you picture them creating Manhattan?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Great point.
Can you picture the African Bushmen? If they just have the right education, they can create Manhattan.
Yeah.
You know?
Good point.
Do you mind if I drop my Telegram? I've just started a Telegram channel, and I'm really trying to get followers. And I've got the Vosh debate. Oh, hang on.
T.me.
Well, yeah, t.me/RealChaggot. That's RealChaggot. And guess what I have on my Telegram? I've got the Vosh video queued up right on the pinned message so you can see my debate with Vosh. And my Telegram has comments enabled.
Nice.
So you can tell me off.
Wow, impressive.
Tell me off if you disagree.
You have to show me how to do that, man, if you can.
Oh,
Hook me up. Right on, Dielawn?
Because the whole point of social media is supposed to be interaction. You know, I feel like it's lame with no. So I got the comments enabled so you can tell me off if you disagree. RealChaggot on Telegram. Okay. I've got some spicy takes. But yeah, I know that caller probably didn't mean harm. I'm sure he's a nice guy. But this ideology that race is about skin color is harmful. And so,
the other thing is, I encourage people. You're right. I encourage people to be patient. Love the boomers. That's why I have a T-shirt that says "I love boomers," because these people, they mean well, and yeah, they are brainwashed in ways that we are not. You know, they're traumatized and brought up in this racism thing like crazy, and it's just ridiculous. But you just have to show patience and patiently explain to them a little bit of reality that they may not know. So appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
I don't know if that guy was a
more-
boomer. He might have been Gen X.
One more thing real quick. I think it's helpful. I think if you are trying to push back and you hear that, say it's not a boomer or a younger person, we got to start using the tactics of the left in the way they argue. They don't say, oh, let me show you some facts and statistics as to why that's incorrect.
Right.
No, you know what they say? How dare you say something like that? That's led to women getting raped in Europe. Shame, shame, shame.
Okay. Interesting point, man. It's good to hear from you, Chad.
All
Dielawn.
right. Yeah, thanks for taking my call. See you.
All right. Appreciate it. Wow. Race is about genetics. What's your point? Asks John B. It's more than just color is his point. People say, oh, based on the color of their skin. It's not based on the color of their skin. And that's why my previous guest from a couple of weeks ago, remember Jeff Charles, whom I talked to? Jeff Charles, at Jeff on the right. I told him something like, at one point he called me reductionist, right? Reductionist. I'll have to look up that word. I don't want to use the term Google that word because we should be using DuckDuckGo or startpage.com, right? Something like that. But reductionist. He called me reductionist because I said something to the effect of, I was criticizing him, lowest common denominator, okay. A person who, reductionist is a person, according to this dictionary thing, which dictionaries are fake news. A person who analyzes and describes a complex phenomenon in terms of its simple or fundamental constituents. An example phrase using reductionist would be a crude reductionist. People accuse JLP of being that, when in reality, life is simple. Even though there are many aspects to things, when you break it down to just the basics, life is simple. It's true or false, right or wrong. And it depends on the situation, obviously, many times. The definition is great. But the example they use makes it seem bad. Yeah, true. A person who analyzes and describes a complex phenomenon in terms of simple or fundamental constituents, that does sound like an appropriate way to be. But they use it with a bad, as though it has bad connotations, which it does have bad connotations.
That's total hypnosis.
Yeah.
That's insane. The crude. The crude. I mean, you're throwing in this majorly like opinionated word.
Right. Very true. And used as an adjective, analyzing and describing a complex phenomenon in terms of its simple or fundamental constituents, which a reductionist approach that leads to stereotyping. See, there it is again.
What's wrong with fundamentals?
Yeah. Those, because there's some smart person, I believe, said this thing. If you can't explain it simply, then you don't know what you're talking about. And another guy said, the more words you use, the less you sound like you know what you're talking about. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. A lot of truth to that. I think only intellectuals and female-minded, which is the same thing as female-minded, right? Liberals and rhinos and suckers will use a whole ton of words to explain a simple thing when they... And they'll include all the exceptions or qualify. I'm not racist, or I don't want to bash the blacks, but all this stuff. And they end up getting smashed by the liberals. Like what Chad Dielawn, RealChaggot, was saying. Chaggot is short for Chad plus maggot. Maybe. I cleaned it up. It was a different word for like sticks. Because he's fit like a stick. Anyway, he made the point that like people will bash you and just steamroll over you if you try to be all intellectual and explain it all precisely and politically correctly. Whereas if you're just straightforward, you'll be smeared as reductionist when the definitions of reductionism sound excellent. If you can't state it simply, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, they'll go like, well, actually, oh yeah, Shaggy Boy has sent me a few colorful chats titled blank. Thank you, Shaggy Boy, over there on trovo.live/The Hake Report. Color and class of character do matter, says Lin Yen Chin. Very true. The Sub-Zero centered Mortal Kombat movie was amazing. A solid 8 for 10. 8 of 10 for me. I have not seen it. I don't watch a lot of video games, but Zelda had too much gore for Hake, says Brandon M. Asmodor says, the same people who advocate for abolishing prisons and police, such as that black female. Vitamin D says, shout out to Vitamin D. I love haters. She says, I think it's a she, I'm not sure. Talks like a she. Says, James seems to be very negative towards black women. Well, this particular black woman. I like Black Victoria. I have a black woman friend, Black Victoria. Shout out. The same people who advocate for abolishing prisons and police, such as that person in my ridiculous pocket headlines headline, pushed by LA Slimes, Los Angeles Slimes, Mariame Kaba, or Kaba, Mariame Kaba. Mariam? I don't know. New York City-based activist and organizer, the emerging movement for police and prison abolition. Those same people who want to abolish prisons and police celebrate the FBI investigating conservatives and keeping whites in solitary confinement for mostly peaceful protests, such as the one in January 6th, the mostly peaceful Capitol protest, which a very tiny amount, just a tiny nominal handful of people got a little rambunctious, to use the word that some black guy, not the black guy, not the YouTuber, some black guy. Well, I haven't heard from him in a while. He was on the Jesse Lee Peterson show once. But some other black caller called into my show, oh yeah, some of those Central Park 5 people got a little rambunctious. No, they were doing what was called wilding, which included, in some cases, rapes, assaults, meaning beatings, which is really battery, right? Theft, steal bikes and stuff, and maybe even murders. Young blacks going wild. Wilding. That was taking place in the 80s and 90s, I guess. When was the Central Park 5 incident? The Central Park jogger, it was a female jogger running through Central Park. I don't know what time of day or night she was doing it. Probably ill-advised. She got attacked, beaten, and raped. She lost so much blood that she doesn't even remember the incident, but she almost died. And the 5 guys, 1989, shout out to Daniel, 1989. They pretend, it was just rambunctious. They got rambunctious. Give me a break. That's what some black guy called the Central Park 5 who were actually doing crimes. Whereas most of the Capitol, even the people who entered the Capitol building, some of them were waved along by a cop. Most of them stole nothing. Some of them stole like a laptop, a stand, a podium, different things like that. Thieves. But most of them were not thieves. Most of them, even those who went in, were peaceful and really committed no crime. Because people storm into the Capitol building and make a scene, interrupt what's going on, but now they're now all of a sudden they're going to enforce the law against white people, the whites, against the Trump supporters, the decent ones. And they'll pretend, we were scared for our lives. Cortez, I thought I was going to die. And yeah, they will celebrate the FBI, the evil, sleazy FBI that they hate when it is against them. When the CIA and the FBI, the so-called intelligence community, anti-American deep state of America, against America, enemies within, deep within. Trump couldn't even fire them if he had wanted to. Did you know that? I don't think he could have. He would have definitely they would have impeached him right away. It's ridiculous. Even the rhinos would have participated with it. So he did not have all 3 branches of government. He only had himself, really. and Justice Clarence Thomas. And the great, there was a little bit of fighting that may not have been necessary, I don't know, with Jeff Sessions and stuff. Some people felt that Jeff Sessions was too weak and soft and focused on the wrong things. Same with, honestly, that other head of the DOJ, Bill Barr. But they're for that stuff, and the FBI and CIA, they've gone after black nationalists a little bit, because any popular movement they want in on. So they can have control, some aspect of control and so-called intelligence on, because they are enemies of America. They want to watch you and control you. Dumb liberals, meddling liberals. That's why they came up with this fake thing called hate crimes. And said, oh, whites are the primary terrorism thing in the America, when whites are the primary ones protecting America. And the ones who are primarily protecting America and Western civilization are the primary ones attacked for it. Or trying to. You know, they went after some of the ones who were more visible. Proud Boys and all that. Give me a break. Windy Day gave a super chat on streamlabs.com/the Hake Report. Yeah, that's why, as Asmodor points out, they don't care about hypocrisy. They'll be willfully hypocritical because they just want their side to win. They don't care about the truth. Windy Day, a person named Windy Day, gave a super chat on streamlabs.com/the Hake Report and said, on the topic of race, you once told a caller asking if Jesse thinks there are differences between the races. I don't know how you could not get that from Jesse's show, is what I said. But Jesse says it's not about color. I think that's how people could get that. Maybe so. Maybe so. Because JLP clearly says if we lose white people, if whites become the minority, it's over for America. He says that plainly. And he also says it's not about color, it's about the spirit. Both things are true. Yeah, Steve King, rest in peace, Steve King, says Bellis Beckenridge. I interrupted myself when I was about to salute Steve King, Congressman Steve King. Jib Jab gave a super chat on streamlabs.com/the Hake Report. It's getting warm in here, so I'm going to take a quick break. And by warm, I mean unbearably hot. It feels like New Orleans here. Feels like we're in Joel's Bayou, where he was born. No, I'm kidding. Joel was born in like Glendora or West Covina or somewhere. But he's Creole. That's New Orleans. And speaking of New Orleans, this song is going to be called Jesus in New Orleans. I call it New Orleans because that's how I was raised to say it, but I know it's called Nolans. This is another track by Over the Rhine. Jesus in Nolans, New Orleans. Enjoy it. I don't think that it's going to sound a little bit sacrilegious or a lot of it sacrilegious because she seems like she sees Jesus in some other woman who is also in a saloon. And this also sounds a little bit like saloon music. But, I mean, they're liberals. I think, Over the Rhine people, Karen Bergquist and Linford Detweiler, which is to say they're artists. So they're not that deep, but some of the stuff that they said in this track, I really like. This is a longer song, so I'll probably kind of keep it going, but I may start talking over it after a couple of minutes. Enjoy, guys. It's 10 o'clock here in L.A. Hang tight for the rest of hour 2. Here's Over the Rhine, Jesus in New Orleans.
I saw Jesus, I was drinking Bloody Marys in the South, in a barroom in New Orleans, rinsing out a bad taste in my mouth. She was the faces of a stranger, the dark and weary corners of my mind. She said the last highway is only as far away as you are from yourself. No matter just how bad it gets, it does no good to blame somebody else. Oh, it is crazy. Oh, it's revealed when you're not looking all that close. Oh, it is crazy how we put to death the ones we need the most. I know I'm not a martyr. I never died for anyone but me. The last frontier is only the stranger in the mirror that I see. But when I least expect it,
Isn't this nice?
there
Yes, it is.
I see my Savior's face.
I really like this line. Listen to it, I think.
He's still my favorite loser, falling for the entire human race.
Did you hear that? He's still my favorite loser. Talking about Jesus. Falling for the entire human race. I thought it was cute. I thought it was cute. Very nice. This is terrible, says Doom Jesus. Oh, Lord. We're in this together, guys, says Jim Justice. Play Leonard Skinner someday, Hake, says Marlene Silvano. Shout out, Marlene. You know, I heard this song so many times, but I didn't catch the fact we put to death the ones we need the most. That's what we, or somebody, people, did to Jesus. They needed Jesus, and they put him to death. I thought that was nice. Isn't that a nice sort of deep point for artists? Deep for an artist. I felt that was nice. And I like the country feel of it. Natalie Imbruglia says Malkuth X. Yeah, she sounds nice too, I guess. Check Lucinda Williams, Hake, says John B. Cheryl Crow is a babe, says Raymond 11. Bloody Marys. Isn't that an alcoholic drink? Last time she saw Jesus, Danny says, she was looking for beads and letting those... Whoa. I better stop myself. White people funeral music. Joan Baez rewind. Terrible, says Jasper Jones. What Hake is some good music. Somebody said, somebody check his temperature. Are you saying this is good music, Skip? Female Rod Stewart. This song makes me want to drown in that lake on the screen. Very nice. Thank you, Over the Rhine. All pretentious style, no substance, terrible voice, faux singing. Wow, heartless Doom Jesus. I like how you say what you think. She sounds drunk and depressed, says Joseph461. Well, thank you guys. Appreciate the support. Babu Go-To guy sent in some super chats. By the way, he sent a super chat yesterday. Did you hear Keith's call? Keith from Illinois yesterday? Talking about this madness and how he doesn't support any of these. He doesn't support Target. I don't know if he mentioned Target, but all these anti-white, anti-American. And Keith is a black guy from Illinois. Old school, straightforward, straight up type of a guy. This music is for lesbians, says Diff White. Man, you guys are straight to it. She just called Jesus a loser. Female logic, says Red Pill XX. Piano's nice. Yeah, I think that's Linford, her husband, who has a different last name from her for some reason. I think it's her husband. But Bible Go-To guy gave a super chat. Being a former sports addict, I completely agree with Keith, referring to these people who still support the people who are backstabbing us or spitting in our faces, in the face of America, by wearing I Can't Breathe t-shirts and saying Black Lives Matter, which is a sleazy spit in the face, saliva to your face, against America and cops and whites and sensible blacks and POCs who have any sense whatsoever. They know that that's an insult because they're the ones throwing their own lives away. The people who are getting themselves killed and these people rioting over it and smearing the cops over it. Give me a break. And I hear a lot of people say, oh, I don't think we should be supporting the cops because they do violate our constitutional rights. They enforce these unjust things. They don't pay you much attention when your rights are violated and all kinds of stuff. That's fair. Those are fair points. But these are falsely smeared fellow Americans. These cops who are getting smeared over fake Black Lives Matter. Don't join the mob, or don't just stand by when the mob is doing their smears. If you want to criticize the cops, criticize them based on reality, not in this fake reality. Am I right? So yes, and Colin Kaepernick and LeBron James and Dwayne Wade with his son who was turned into I think a transgender. LeBron James. By the way, speaking of this emotional music, do you have or can you find that Obama drop? There's a Barack Obama drop. I don't know what it's called. And I don't even know if Joel Friday, no longer here, played this drop. But I remember Andre used to play this Barack Obama drop that I guess he was being interviewed, in a feel-good interview. Like, what interview with Obama wasn't feel-good, including even Bill O'Reilly, who tried to be a little tougher and straightforward with him. And he wouldn't submit to an interview with Sean Hannity or anybody even tougher than Sean Hannity. Or, what's his name? Tucker. I don't think he was interviewed by Tucker. But he was being interviewed, and his wife was sitting next to him, probably holding his hand and stuff like that. And Obama says, I'm a softie. Stuff chokes me up very easily. And that's the drop that I thought of when I heard this music from Over the Rhine, because they have very emotional music. Woman music. Hey, that's so deep, says L. Moses. If Hake ever plays Freebird, Skip's beta hip will magically heal itself. Oh. So says Brandon M. Is Brandon M a prophet? Might be worth a try. Freebird. Who's that by? Do you know?
Freebird?
Yeah. Leonard Skinner. They're conservatives, right? Or something?
They're white.
They're white.
Southerners.
They're Southerners. They are maybe Fox News friendly type conservatives. Who knows? Yeah, they support the Confederate flag. Good point. And you know who else does? Whom I appreciate, who may also be kind of a boomer, Gen X, probably Gen X, sort of cringy conservative at times, but I like him for this reason. Kid Rock. He told Al Sharpton to just go sit down, basically, because he would wear the Confederate flag and, the battle flag, the one that you're familiar with. and be shameless about it. And whites could totally be shameless about it and take back a lot of what we have so-called lost. Was Obama talking about Trayvon in the drop you mentioned? No. I don't think that he was. I think he was talking about feel-good stuff. I don't remember. Because he would say, oh, if I had a son, he would look like Trayvon. That was probably another drop that we kept handy. Because we were talking about Obama big time when he was in office and more relevant. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it'll be findable very easily based on the title of the file. But we'll have to find it. There's a few Obama drops, nothing relevant to what I said. Softy cry, Obama cry. I'm a softy, stuff chokes me up very, very easily. I'm a softy. Stuff chokes me up very easily. She knows she's still the boss.
Wait a minute. I'm a warrior.
Yeah. Oh, stuttering. Trying to convince us. A social justice warrior. That was
Can I get an amen for that?
Can I get an amen for that? Let's just go through all the Obama drops to see if we can find it.
Can I get an amen?
Can I get an amen? What if that's him trying to be black?
Look like Trayvon.
If I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon.
I think they are right to expect that
Can you hear?
all of us, as Americans,
It's weird. We'll find it.
President Obama quit lying.
That's funny. That's from somebody else talking about it. It's
she
ridiculous.
knows she's still the boss.
That's him talking about Michelle.
Michelle, the rock of the Obama family.
Drops are the names for tiny sound bites. Yes, that's what drops are. Now you guys know radio lingo. Now you can be a host. Anybody can be a host nowadays. Am I right? Very nice.
This is a long one. I'll stop it if it's not one.
Okay.
Michelle, the rock of the Obama family. She knows she's still the boss.
That's funny. Anyway, we'll find it. I feel like I remember seeing it. It might have been on like 60 Minutes, or maybe that woman who was on The View. She was like the old woman on The View for some time. The old woman. Barbara Walters, maybe. They might have been talking to her because he just appeals to females, right? Females. It's ridiculous. Speaking of the Bible, I loved that call with that Bible guy, not Bible go-to guy, with that Bible pusher, if you will, who was calling the Bible the Word of God, on the Jesse Lee Peterson show. If you didn't catch the Jesse Lee Peterson show, I think this took place towards the beginning of the third hour, and maybe at the end of the second hour too. It carried over, if I remember correctly. But something that he said reminded me of Romans 2, so that's why I sent a passage over to JLP about this was Romans 2, 14 and 15. Romans is a book inside of the Bible, the New Testament. It was written by Paul, I think that's what we were told. And it said, Gentiles who do not have the law, meaning they didn't grow up reading and memorizing the law the way that the Jews did, meaning their Bible at the time, by nature do what the law requires, by their own nature, God-given nature. They are a law to themselves, even though they do not have the written law. I added the word written law just for emphasis. This is the English Standard Version. I know you guys are King James only, some of you. Cut me some slack. Don't get distracted by that too much right now. They show the work of the law is written on their hearts. And in multiple places, God says that he write the law on their hearts. While their conscience also bears witness and their conflicting thoughts accuse or even excuse them on the day when God judges the secrets of men by Christ Jesus. Isn't that interesting? In fact, that whole chapter about God's righteous judgment and the law is quite interesting. It says you have no excuse at the very beginning, the first few verses. You have no excuse, every one of you who judges, for in passing judgment on another, you condemn yourself, because you, the judge, practice the very same things. We know the judgment of God rightly falls on those who practice such things. Do you suppose, you who judge those who practice such things and yet do them yourself, that you will escape the judgment of God? Or do you presume on the riches of his kindness and forbearance and patience, not knowing that his kindness is meant to lead you to repentance? You know, all these people that say, oh, we're going to continue to sin. If we stop sinning, then we don't need Jesus anymore. No, that's not what it says. It says the opposite. You need Jesus in order to stop sinning, and then you stop sinning, and then you don't sin anymore. Because that's what repentance means, right? Duh. Because of your hard and impenitent heart, meaning you're not penitent, meaning you don't have any penance, you are storing up wrath for yourself on the day of wrath when God's righteous judgment will be revealed. He will render each one according to his works. Those who by patience in well-doing seek for glory and honor and immortality, he will give eternal life. But those who are self-seeking and do not obey the truth, but obey unrighteousness, there will be wrath and fury. So all those Christians that say, oh, I sin every day, they will not get what they think. There will be tribulation and distress for every human being who does evil, the Jew first and also the Greek. I guess they thought there were only Jews and Greeks. But glory and honor and peace for everyone who does good. God shows no partiality. Interesting. Further down in like verse 17 or so, if you call yourself a Jew and rely only on the law and boast in God and know his will and approve what's excellent because you are instructed from the law, and if you're sure that you yourself are a guide to the blind, a light to those who are in darkness, an instructor to the foolish, teacher of children, having the law in the embodiment of knowledge and truth, you then who teach to others, do you not teach yourself? While you preach against stealing, do you steal? While you say one must not commit adultery, do you commit adultery? You who abhor idols, do you rob temples? You who boast from the law, dishonor God by breaking the law. For it is written, the name of God is blasphemed among the Gentiles because of you, referring to the people who thought that they had God, the Jews at that time. And they talk about circumcision later in the chapter. I'm not sure if I included this in the screenshots, but we're showing them. Circumcision is indeed of value if you obey the law, but if you break the law, your circumcision becomes uncircumcision. Interesting, huh? So it's not of the body. So if a man who is uncircumcised keeps the precepts of the law, will not his uncircumcision be regarded as circumcision? Interesting, huh? The Spirit's what's supposed to change. Then he who is physically uncircumcised but keeps the law will condemn you who have the written code and circumcision, but you break the law. For no one is a Jew who is merely one outwardly, nor is circumcision outward and physical, but a Jew who is one inwardly. And circumcision is a matter of the heart, by the Spirit, not by the letter. His praise is not from man, but from God. Isn't that interesting? That's why my argument with that black Hebrew Israelite guy, the mean one, not the nice one. There's a nice Israelite who calls into my show, but there's a mean one, or from the tribe of Judah, according to him, right? But there's a mean one who called into my show last week, I want to say, and I call him mean because he was like, he said, blacks do worship money, but they don't discriminate based on color. I'm like, blacks do that more than anybody. But he said whites are the most evil people, and they're children of Satan. And he asked me if I was a Jew, I think, or an Israelite. And I said, yes. Because according to this, it says a Jew is somebody who is fulfilling the law. Well, if I am a Christian, a real one, then I am also a Jew. Interesting, huh? Anyway, the right kind, the good kind. Not the evil kind. Anyway, yes, super chats. I do have to get to some super chats. At least one, anyway. Latin Patriot. I just had to share that with you, that Romans thing. I think Paul was super into being a Jew. so bad that he was killing Christians or standing by while the first Christian martyr was killed. I think he held the coats of the people who were throwing rocks at Stephen, the first martyr, right? Anyway, super chats. Latin Patriot gave a super chat on streamlabs.com/The Hake Report. And then he wrote like that. Paul wrote like that. I keep on going back to that. Paul wrote like that about reality, people being real and actually living it. Anyway, Latin Patriot loves JLP and Hake chat friends. She loves the chat friends. God bless the USA. I'm glad I wasn't born in Mexico. Right on, Latin Patriot. Good to hear from you. Appreciate the support. Very nice. If I missed any of your Trovo chats, tag me and repost what you wrote, okay? Because sometimes it is... sometimes it is... It scrolls up because you guys may chat so much that I lose it. Okay. Disney hates America, and I did cover this a little bit, or quite a bit, the other day. But indeed, I wanted to share something that I saw. There was like a form, and I don't have a screenshot of this, but I'll describe it for you guys. It's a self-assessment form. This is from the Disney thing. I talked about it yesterday, about how the Disney company is forcing people to go through this madness, right? Pretending that racism is real and that whites are the primary perpetrators and blacks are the primary victims. Give me a break. It's the opposite. Inverted reality, as some callers have said. Self-assessment. How privileged are you? I'm reading off, I saved it from a tweet that I retweeted, or a Twitter thread that I retweeted 2 nights ago. Check off all the statements that apply to you. More checks equals more privilege. 1, I am white. Oh, obviously that means you're more privileged. The privilege of having parents and most white people pretty well behaved, therefore people don't regard them with as much suspicion. Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess that's a privilege. I have never been discriminated against because of my skin color. Do I check that box? No, I do not check that box because most whites have been discriminated against because of their skin color. Fact. I have never been the only person of my race in a room. False. I have been the only person of my race in the room. And in fact, most white children have been. Or people my age and younger have been. Especially if you grew up in California or New York or any, so-called urban area. Or even suburban area. I have never been mocked for my accent. I think I have. I've been called white. You're very white. I've never been told I am attractive for my race. Well, I've never been told I am attractive, period. No, I'm playing. My mom says I'm handsome. I have never been a victim of violence because of my race. I don't know. I've had people hit me. I have never been called a racial slur. Most whites have been called a racial slur. A lot of black women have called me a pretty white boy, says Chris. Nice. Or is it? I have never been told I sound white. Yes, I have. A stranger has never asked to touch my hair or asked if it's real. Yes, strangers have asked to touch my hair because I'm reputed to have great hair from some black guy who is amped up talking about, oh, James has the best hair on the internet. And it became a meme. And he doesn't even know, but that's nice. I am heterosexual. Oh, yeah, because heterosexuals are more so-called privileged and preferred than homosexuals. Not. It's not true. That's why on the Fallen State, JLP always asks, who is more privileged, blacks or homosexuals? And people are like, oh, I don't know. Some may say blacks, some may say homosexuals, or some may play dumb. Interesting. I have never lied about my sexuality. I have pretended not to notice pretty girls. I have never had to come out. That's a reference to being homosexual. As degenerate? No, I never had to come out as degenerate. I did have to so-called come out as conservative somewhat. Because the anti-conservative or anti-Christian, anti-American, really, aspect, nationalists. I've came out as nationalist, I guess, somewhat nationalist. But there's a big don't tell anything the truth. Chris says, Nazi? Baby Hitler? No, I'm not. But, I mean, I remember talking about the ridiculousness of Obama. I think when the Tea Party started coming on the rise, I started to defend the Tea Party. I've been to some of these. It's ridiculous. Anyway, false smears upon decent Americans. Yeah. I have never doubted my parents' acceptance of my sexuality. All of this drama about something that's not even good for you and it's wrong. They're propping up feeling like a victim and accepting your perversion. The LGBTIQ madness, right? Not good for you. Not good for you at all. And they're pushing this on you. That's Disney for you. I am always comfortable showing affection to my partner. What? They think I'm... Partner's a gay word, as JLP says. In public. No. People... The public displays of affection, that's gross. So-called gross. So-called affection. I've never pretended to be just friends with my significant other. This is all homosexual stuff that they're promoting. Never been ostracized by my religion for my so-called sexual orientation. Gross, huh? I've never been told I would burn in hell for my sexual orientation. I've been told I would burn in hell for being a conservative Trump supporter. Burn in hell, Nazi. Sick people. I am a man. Oh yeah, men are so privileged that we get to go to jail when a woman hits us and breaks her nail on us. That happens. Just watch The Red Pill if you don't believe me. I feel comfortable in the gender I was born as. You don't end a sentence with a preposition, Disney. Anyway, it goes on and on and on. Never been raped. Work in a salaried job. My family and I have never lived below the poverty line. I have never felt unsafe because of my gender. I have never been catcalled. Homosexuals do that a lot to people. It's sick. Never gone to bed hungry. My parents pay some of my bills. All this madness, right? Ridiculous. And they try to change your thinking from norm of white dominant culture to something different. I'm reading this from my phone, right? What you can personally do to make change or pivot from the left column to the right column. What can your organization do? One is either or thinking. Very simple. That's what JLP does. Straightforward, black and white. That's what Jesus was about. Straightforward. Either or thinking, believing people are racist or not racist, good or bad, seeing incidents of inequity as isolated events. Systems and complexity thinking, change it to that. Understanding the context and intersectionality, which is a buzzword for female thinking. Seeing patterns, female thinking like victims. Holding contradictory thoughts and feelings simultaneously. Sounds like the hell that a woman lives in. Holding contradictory thoughts and feelings simultaneously. They want partnership, not paternalism. They want collaboration, not competition. Power sharing, not power hoarding. It's really about power. They're taking the power away from the people. From people who say common sense things. And it is interesting the different things that they suggest doing. It is ridiculous. They say stuff like, oh, if you hear somebody tell a story of a racist incident that they experienced, you are not supposed to say, are you sure you read that correctly? Are you sure that that's what they were thinking? You're supposed to believe them and validate their feelings, rather than help them think more clearly about the situation. Because a lot of these blacks and POCs and gays and women and all them, they assume to know that this was racist. So ridiculous. That's part of the wokest place on earth article by Christopher Rufo. Christopher Rufo, R-U-F-O. He wrote it in City Journal and on his own website. Anyway, very nice. I have some Hake news items that I wanted to cover. It is 10:30 here in 10:32 actually, here in Los Angeles. And you can call in 888-775-3773. But I have to get to this stuff. Hang on, callers. Then there's an economics professor, and Revolver News covered this months ago. But it was so long, and I don't know if I just have poor reading comprehension, but I didn't understand it in the first paragraph, so I just I scrolled through. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so long. And so I gave up. We all know that the lockdowns are stupid, right? Everybody knows that they're a communist power grab. It's enemies of America. They don't believe in common sense. They don't believe in freedom. They don't know that people will pretty much, you can leave them alone rather than micromanage their lives, which is what these liberals want to do. Communists. And that's why what's happening around the world, because the world has a female mindset. More today than in maybe decades. I'm not sure. Economics professor Doug Allen. I don't know anything about this guy, Doug Allen. Nice name, though. Very normal. Not the British actor. He was exposing the lockdown failure. The lockdown failure. And oh my gosh, is it a failure. It's from the Epic Times that I saw this. And I'm like, okay, let me have a look. Economics professor Doug Allen wanted to know why so many early models, which are still being used to this day, by the way, used to create COVID-19 lockdown policies. That's the China virus. To this day, they're using it. They didn't change anything. And they're taking credit for numbers going down. It's ridiculous. How the lockdown policies turned out to be highly incorrect. Or the early models were highly incorrect. What he found was a great majority were based on false assumptions that tended to overestimate the benefits and underestimate the costs. I just glossed over this at the end of Hake News, end of hour 2. He found it troubling that policies such as total lockdowns were based on those models. Models, he said, are very sensitive to false assumptions. And they had many false assumptions. He said most of the early cost-benefit analysis, anything that you do is going to have a cost and a benefit. And all of the so-called responsible public policy makers, right? And governors, fake governors, politicians, and mayors and all, and county board of supervisors or whatever you call these sleazy people who run LA County, who shut down most of the outdoor dining for a couple of weeks. And that same night, she went outdoor dining, one of the women. Kueller? Sheila Kuehl, you're so cruel, I think is what her name was. Says most of the early cost-benefit studies that he reviewed did not try to distinguish between mandated and voluntary changes in people's behavior. Very interesting, huh? And that's an important distinction in the face of the so-called plandemic. Rather, they just assumed an exponential growth of cases of infection day after day until herd immunity is reached. In a paper he published in April, just this past month, Doug Allen, economics professor, reviewing over 80 papers on lockdown effects worldwide, Allen concluded that lockdowns may be one of the greatest peacetime policy failures in Canada's history. I guess he's a Canadian guy. And it's happening here too, and around the world, honestly. He made the point that people tend to be more careful when there's a virus going around. Oh, it's a virus going around. That means you keep your distance, you're more aware, you wash your hands more. Like Trump said, oh, just wash your hands 10 times more. And keep your distance from people. Don't get in their personal space. Foreigners tend to do that a lot, including like Esteban. He gets in your face. He like gets all close to you. Weirdo. No offense, foreigners. but you guys got a problem with personal space. Man, no wonder you guys are all sick. I don't think I've seen Esteban sick, though. People tend to be more careful without being forced when there's a virus going around. It's just a fact. You don't have to force it. Allen's own cost-benefit analysis is based on the calculation of, this is what reminded me of the Revolver.news analysis, which was months ago. You could probably still find it on their website, though, Revolver.news. But this is from the Epoch Times. Life years saved. Life years saved. Life years saved is hard to understand, but this is what it is. Explained simply, I think. That is a calculation that determines how many years of lost life will have been caused by various harms of the lockdowns. For example, you're in your home. Many of the people will give in to the temptation of drinking more and getting on opioids or whatever. I can't take this sitting at home madness. This stinks. This is hell. I have to be aware of myself. What's up, Noah's Ark, Kansas? Thank you, man. That's one example of the shutdowns, life years lost. How many years of lost life? And that shortens your life when you do bad habits. A lot of people got fat over the lockdowns. They couldn't go to the parks as much. Some guy got arrested for rowing his boat out at the beach by himself on the water. Ridiculous. And many other things. How many years of lost life will have been caused by the various harms of lockdowns versus how many years of lost life were saved, so-called, by the lockdowns? Based on his lost life calculation, lockdown measures have caused 282 times more harm than benefit to Canadian society over the long term, or 282 times more life years lost than saved. Isn't that interesting? Because, most of the people who die from this thing would have died pretty soon anyway, because they're old or unhealthy for the most part, by and large. Whereas you're just hamstringing the ability of the people to take care of themselves or making it more difficult. And when you make things more difficult, I can speak from experience. For months, I was just hitting up 7-Eleven. I wasn't going to the grocery store. I didn't want to wait in those lines. I didn't want to have to wear this mask forever and follow their tracks and stuff. It was a big mess. So I didn't go to the grocery store. When you go to the grocery store, by and large, you're going to eat more healthfully than you're going through drive-thrus, which stayed open the whole time. Drive-thrus stayed open the whole time. Uber Eats, too. Uber Eats and Grubhub and all those, they were making bank during the so-called shutdowns, communist shutdowns. This was all a huge benefit to Amazon. Meanwhile, the mom and pop shops closed down permanently, many of them. All politics, lies, and control. Furthermore, this Doug Allen guy says, the limited effectiveness of lockdowns explains why, after 1 year, the unconditional cumulative deaths per million, meaning across the board, and the pattern of daily deaths per million is not negatively correlated with the stringency of lockdown across the countries. He writes, very true. Deaths from other things were down, supposedly, because they weren't outside. But people were still dying at the same rate. In other words, in his assessment, heavy lockdowns do not meaningfully reduce the number of deaths in the areas where they are implemented when compared to areas where lockdowns were not implemented or as stringent. Very interesting. Today, some 14 months into the so-called scamdemic, many jurisdictions across Canada are still following the same trajectory outlined at the beginning of the pandemic based on the faulty models that were based on false assumptions. Allen attributes this to politics. He says politicians often take credit for having achieved a reduction in case numbers through their lockdown measures. Get that? Oh, stuff is down. What we're doing is working, guys. No. He says, if you were a politician, would you say, we're not going to lock down because it doesn't make a difference, And we actually did the equivalent of killing 600,000 people this year. Are you going to be honest and say that? He says you wouldn't. Because the alternative is the politicians have to admit that they made a fatal mistake that killed people and, by the way, stole their freedoms, which was a big part of the point. Caused millions, multiple more loss of life than years they saved. Loss of life years than they saved. Life years, meaning years of life. Wow. Loss of life. More loss of life. Take your life away. Typical. And by the way, there's major propaganda propping this stuff up, including the social media companies, the anti-American American social media companies, like Facebook, Twitter, Google, YouTube. He says media, for the most part, have carried only one side. Media in general, the mainstream media. Only one side of the debate. Remember that great Barrington Declaration by that Indian guy and a couple of other doctor types, expert types? They said, we should only do targeted protection for the people who are at risk, and the rest of us live our lives and be free, and it's safer, it's better, it's more healthy, be normal. That was a sensible declaration. And those guys are liberals, by the way. The Great Barrington Declaration, they're just more sensible and a little bit more honest. They're not particularly conservative, I can tell you. But they didn't even support those guys. They didn't even amplify their message or anything. They tried to shun them, the mainstream media. Adding to the concern, views contrary to the official government response are often pulled from social media platforms, including like from the UN, the CDC. Those are a bunch of liberals. He says he has heard that even his own published study has been censored by some social media sites, this Doug Allen guy. In some sense, these are private platforms. They can do whatever they want, he says. But on the other hand, I feel kind of sad that we live in the kind of world where opposing opinions is either dismissed, ignored, or name-called, and in some ways canceled. Reminds me of that one guy from way back that we hear about a lot. Galileo? Didn't Galileo say that Earth revolves around the sun? Some of you guys probably think that's wrong. And then he was shunned by the church. Well, the same thing is happening with regard to this fake climate hysteria, the fake COVID scare, and all that stuff. What a mess. Terrible mess. But right on to that guy, pointing out the truth. It's refreshing to hear it, really. It really is. Windy Day gave another super chat on streamlabs.com/The Hake Report. I'm going to get to calls, guys. Hang tight. Windy Day says, so which is it? Is it not about color, or are we going to lose America if we lose whites? It's both, because the whites have more of the spirit of the freedom of speech, the spirit of America. It's both. You need to do what this Disney thing said, which I was just got through mocking. Hold conflicting things, thoughts and contradictory thoughts and feelings simultaneously. Windy Day. Because there are times where Jesus, the Bible, JLP, other wise men will say stuff that it sounds like it contradicts itself, but it truly doesn't. It truly doesn't. It's about what's right. And what's right here in America is what's white. It's just a fact. Nobody who loves what's right is going along with this anti-white. That's reality. And that's why you see so many POCs who love white people, and they love White History Month. You don't see so many, but you see a significant amount of people. The kingdom of God has all races. But the kingdom of Satan rushes to that diversity thing and ignores, but tries to forget about God. That's what the kingdom of Satan also has, all races. And they have many more. So it's not about race so much. But we live in a reality where here we are. And the whites are falsely under attack, and the blacks are under an attack in the form of people pretending to be their friends. Yep. Same thing with the gays and the females, women. What a mess. Thank you, Windy Day. I appreciate the questions in the super chats. Very nice. Let me get to William in San Francisco. He wants to talk about Sleazy Joe Biden. It is 10:47 here. I'm going to try to get to all of you guys. Hang tight. William in San Fran, how are you?
Man, how you doing, man?
Doing well. Thank you.
Good. It's good to hear from you again. You're doing a great job at your show and everything.
Appreciate it.
I agree with you on that. That it's just, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it sounds racist, but it's true. White people, I'm black. I'm black and I'm conservative, and I can tell you this: white people do have a better spirit of America than black people do.
Yeah.
All day long. I know they're going to call on this. But I say, like Jesse, why don't you just go back to the old days and let the Mayberry RFD effect come into effect and keep everybody in line? How about that? Because you don't seem to know how to act running your own towns, Washington, Seattle, Oakland. It's bad. But Sleepy Joe comes along with something that I noticed it's like this train. Now, if you ever been back east?
Yes.
I have.
Yep.
Okay. If you know anything about back east, I want you to geographically look at California. If you really know back east, California, the distance from like Redding to San Diego, that's basically the East Coast. All those cities are on top of each other.
Oh, yeah.
So, Joe, where are you going to go 200 miles an hour safely with a bullet train back east?
Yeah, good point.
We couldn't build one in California with all the room we have, because nobody's going to come from the Bay Area and drive to Stockton to catch a train that goes 200 miles an hour.
Right.
In California. Yeah, I mean, we only got, a quarter mile of track laid, and Gavin Newsom spent $500 million, and it didn't work.
Yeah, that was the other governor's baby too, Jerry Brown.
Well, that was another
high-speed rail. I remember that.
First of all, we don't have the kind of infrastructure that Europe has that needs these electric things.
Yeah.
We got gas, we got coal, we got all kinds of natural resources. We don't need that stuff.
Right.
We're not even geographically built to go 200 miles an hour.
Interesting point. And you're talking about because the cities are so close to each other that 200 miles an hour would be ridiculous to try to do. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because me and you both know, you get in a car, you drive from San Francisco to L.A., it's a 6-hour drive. If you push it to 80, it's about 5.5.
Right.
It's probably 7.5 to San Diego.
Yeah.
Well, that's too easy to do. It's $50 a flight. Why would you want to drive your car all the way to the San Joaquin Valley, which is an hour drive from the Bay?
Right.
And get a train that's going to unsafely do 200 miles an hour through people's farms.
I know.
So we laid a quarter mile of track, and it's still there in the desert in California, and we are not getting that train.
Wow.
And the conservatives told us, you guys are not getting the train.
I remember the conservative radio hosts were railing about it.
All these liberals we're going to get it. No, you're not. And when they come with this electric car, did they tell you about this $10,000 charger that goes with your house for that electric Tesla? They didn't tell you about that part. They didn't tell you about the part when you go to Tahoe and it snows and you pull up on the side of the road and look at YouTube all night and turn the heater on and you're cool. And you start your F-150 and your BMW and you go home. They forgot about telling you about the part that those people there on the side of the road with a Tesla, they stayed warm all night with an electric battery. And the next morning when everybody left, when the snow melted, the Teslas couldn't move because they weren't plugged in all night.
Yeah.
So
what a mess.
It's really not as smart as people think because, look, it takes a nasty product to produce a lithium battery.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Joe's not telling you that part, okay? The stuff they produce for a lithium battery, I think the waste has to go to Mars. It's so nasty. It's like, okay, you got a zero emission car, but you got a filthy plant to produce the batteries.
I was talking with a man who was excited as a younger man by the proposition of these renewable energies like windmills. And
Yes.
he got disillusioned by the fact that most of these things are made with, I don't know, like fiberglass, and then they just end up in landfills because they don't last very long. They kill a bunch of birds, and they don't really, you have problems with producing the energy because wind's not always blowing. And storing it, too, is another problem.
There you go.
All kinds of...
Look at the Green Deal didn't work in Texas. Let's think about it. They had to freeze the whole state. That's big. That's the second biggest economy in the country is Texas.
Right.
And it goes dead on windmills.
Yeah.
Because they're froze. Plus, you got a bunch of stupid liberals moving down there.
Yep.
And they got Teslas. Now, how many people in Texas? 20 or 30 million? Okay. How many people in Texas during the freeze were pregnant out of that 20 million?
Interesting question.
Okay.
Boy.
Now, think about this. Mr. Liberal with his Tesla in the garage and his little smart house, when Texas froze, she had to have that baby in the house. Do you know why? Because the car wasn't charging.
Wow. What a mess.
Okay. We don't have enough grid power to do California during the summers with the air conditions burning.
I know. Rolling brownouts and blackouts.
Why would you think that would work if you make 100% grid on electric in this country? It wouldn't work. First of all, what does the guy in Minnesota say about an electric heater?
Minnesota. Who are you referring to?
Use an electric heater.
Oh, true. Yeah. Very true. Good point.
Have an apartment. Open the door with an electric heater. The heat's gone in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Have an apartment with a gas heater. Open the door. The heat is still there.
Interesting, man.
Take a car and push a 3,000-pound car down the road with 18 cents worth of gallon of gas. No, 18 cents worth of gas. Just a few drops makes that car go 60. But you charge a car 365 days a year in your garage and tell me what that's going to cost.
Wow.
Not
Great
so
points,
much
man.
Of a smart Green Deal, is it? It's not that smart, is it?
Yeah. Very true. Yeah, it's so ridiculous. It reminds me, honestly, of something that's happened early on when I came to Bond. It reminds me of like non-experts trying to all of a sudden be experts and fix things. When I first came to Bond, I was like, you guys, the website needs updating. So I tried to work and rebuild the website. And then like 6 months later, we had to rebuild the website again because that wasn't right either. Tearing down what was already there and maybe not ideal, but working okay. And you had to, it just costs all this time and money, and because they don't know what they're doing and they are incompetent and they have fake ideas on what's going to make it better.
I mean, I got a BMW and I see a Tesla on the side of me on the highway all the time. They give me that smirky little liberal look, like they're really doing something. And I got this 540.
Nice.
In package. And like I said, 18 cents worth of gas with a double turbocharged. Hey, overhead cam. Come on, double overhead cam. He's probably quicker. Here's the deal. That electric stuff is probably quicker, but you never see a Tesla try to keep up with you. You know why? He can only go one speed because it's all set.
Interesting.
He can't speed with you. He's got to stay where he is.
Well, I appreciate it, William, from San Francisco.
I don't think that's fun. Do you think that's fun? I like pressing on the gas. Do you like pressing on the gas? I like burning rubber.
A little bit.
I don't care whether, hell with you. The hell are you liberals? I'm getting an AC Cobra, liberals, and I'm going to drive downtown San Francisco with a 427 V8 loping like hell. I wish you would say something to me.
Reminds me of JLP's remix from Trevor Wesley remixed his song, No Manly Cars. Look it up.
We got to have a man car. Got to have a man car. I mean, I'm one of those guys, and I know the guys are listening. It just don't sound cool if you say, hey, babe, I'm picking you up in my electric Focus.
I know, and then the Teslas, they have to make a speaker that makes car noises because otherwise it wouldn't really make much noise. What
it's not even cool. I'm picking you up in the Tesla, babe. I'll pick you up in the... It's not even cool.
I know.
It's not even cool. It's not even cool.
Well, great points,
Cameron,
William.
guys,
I got to run.
listen,
Good to hear from you.
Take care, and guys, don't drive girl cars.
Nice. Take care, man. He's right. quickly, I have to get to Rick in Hampton, Virginia. He says the Atlanta mayor is resigning. What? Rick.
What's up, my brother James? What's going on?
Not much. Rick from Hampton, Virginia. Good to hear from you.
Good to hear from you, brother. I've been busy lately going to school and stuff for heating and air conditioning, so that's why I haven't been tuning into the show lately.
HVAC. Always learning, huh?
Yeah, yes, sir, man. That's what I do out here in Hampton, Virginia, man.
How old are you, if you don't mind my asking?
Oh, absolutely. I'm 50. I'll be 52 years old September 14th.
Okay. Gen X. Very nice.
Yes, sir.
I did not know that. Cool.
Yep.
So you're saying the Atlanta mayor, that's that Keisha Lance Bottoms woman, short-haired, good-haired. I don't know if that's her real hair. Black lady in charge of Atlanta. She's not going to seek re-election. She was elected in.
I was reading. I think what did I see that on Yahoo that she's not going to seek re-election. I call her Keisha Lance.
She shouldn't.
Bottomed out.
She's 51 years old. She was elected in 2017. Just the second black, and they capitalized black because they're kiss-ups. This is The Guardian, far-left foreign outlet, enemies of America. Second black woman to lead the city, so-called lead the city. She didn't provide a specific decision. It is with deep emotions that I hold my head high and choose not to seek another term as mayor, she tweeted. Interesting.
Yeah, you know what? I believe she regrets defunding the police in Atlanta. They rioted and tore Atlanta up. Look, I'm telling you, just my humble opinion, Atlanta is really a ghetto. The only thing that's keeping it from being a ghetto is the state capital and the suburbs.
You know, she's kind of pretty, right, for her race, to quote the. Maybe she feels that this job is too much pressure and it's aging her.
Yeah,
so,
that's probably what it is. Yeah,
she doesn't want to deal with all that mess. Who knows? Because I don't know if she's decent enough to regret. Did she defund the police? She definitely undermined them. That's for sure.
She defunded. I truly believe she defunded the police. I think she did defund them.
What was that? Was that Wendy's police shooting? Were those guys fired, or one of the guys was fired?
No, I never knew what the outcome was.
Rayshard Brooks.
When they killed,
after Rayshard Brooks, that was Atlanta, and I think she fired the guy with no hearing, and so I think he had to be reinstated or something like that. And she was defending it. She was defending firing this guy who, in my opinion, rightfully shot at. Oops, I said his name.
Justified.
Blah blah blah. The 27-year-old black dude who was asleep, drunk,
drugs, man.
Drunk in a Wendy's drive-thru, allegedly, being arrested for DUI, and then he resisted arrest and fired got one of the cops' tasers fired at them, and was running away. They shot him in the back, but that was like split-second decision. I call it justified, or at least a valid thing. Yeah,
it was justified. They showed that man tremendous patience.
Yeah, and she's behind the firing of that guy. What a sleazy woman.
I would have soon have got my job back, just like in Northern Virginia with that Army guy. If I was that matter of fact, the guy that Mace that you met the Army guy, right, in Northern Virginia.
Oh yeah, in that thing. I don't know with the boonies.
He was trying to be passive aggressive, trying to say what's
going on. I know.
Weapons are drawn.
Anyway, Rick.
Because you're a high risk pullover. That's why.
We're overtime, man. Appreciate it. Good to hear from you. Have a good one.
You too, man.
Oh, by the way, are you going to make it to the men's conference?
Where's it going to be at?
You don't know. It is the men's conference is going to be in Orlando, Florida, August 14th of this year. August 14th, which is, we're in May, June, July, August. In 3 months, we have the men's conference. Saturday, August 14th in Orlando, Florida. Go to jesseleepeterson.com or rebuildingtheman.com and scroll down. You'll find a link to the Eventbrite page. You can buy your tickets there. and book a hotel if you want to stay in the hotel there. And it's for men only. Men's conference, Saturday.
Wow.
And then the next day we have church with Jesse Lee Peterson in the morning for everybody.
It's going to be
Women
in Orlando
can go
too?
too.
Now,
Orlando.
I heard that. I kept hearing y'all saying it, but I just couldn't catch what city it was in.
Okay, yeah, Orlando, Florida. Orlando, Florida. All the information is on those websites. If you go to jesseleepeterson.com or rebuildingtheman.com, you click on the announcement, and it's all there. Appreciate it, Rick. I got to run. Nice talking with you.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and make that. I would love to see all you guys.
Yeah, it'd be great to meet you, man. All right, take care.
Love y'all. Be good.
All right. Christina from Sacramento wanted to discuss Jesus being born of a human, born of God or born of Mary. And the rest of the callers, I'm sorry, I cannot get to you. We are overtime, way overtime. This has been the Hake Report, thehakereport.com for my stuff. And as you know, jesseleepeterson.com for the place from which you can find all things JLP. Thanks, guys. Take care.